This gives you an idea of Colin McCrae and his character, really.
Here we have Nicky's Celica ST185 original Group A rally car.
Hi Sven, what do you think of the car?
Oh, it's very nice, yeah. It's not every day you get to see a full factory Group A Celica rally car. So,
no, there's very few out there, there's very few. But only because I won my first World Championship rally in one. That's why I had to have it, really.
Yeah, no, it's a real time capsule really of everything. Everything's original on the car, so it's nice to have something kept in a condition like this.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much for taking time out of your day again.
Yeah, no pleasure, absolutely pleasure.
So my first question to you is, what is the most memorable or vivid memory of your career?
God, there's so many, and I think it's very difficult to pick on one particular moment. Perhaps there's so many other moments that meant a lot at a different time of my career. But I suppose if you were ultimately going to pick something, it would be my first World Championship win, when I was plucked out of my bed in Zougamedia, flew overnight, said goodbye to my wife who was in work, disappeared for 6 weeks, flew into Buenos Aires, up to Cordoba. Somebody picked me up. Kankinen was waiting there with road hooks, paste and hooks, and cups of coffee piled up. And off we went to do a recce, and there was no stop. We only had a few days, and then to lead from the first stage to the last. That was quite special.
Yeah, first event like that.
Yeah.
Especially Argentina, it's such a challenging and tricky rally to compete in, and to finish, first of all to finish, but then to win from first stage to the final stage is very impressive.
Yeah, no, it was. And you know, we benefited by being the quickest and also running first on the road. It meant that we could control the rally from there.
Yeah,
and it was a great experience.
So, the second question I've got for you, Nicky, is what is your favourite or what is your dream road car?
Oh God, that's difficult. I mean, as an old man now, it would be one thing. I suppose if I was going to get, and there was no, practically I wouldn't have my dream car now, because it's just not sensible.
Yeah, it's not sensible.
No. I've always been a big fan of Porsche.
Yeah.
And even their high performance road cars you can use on an everyday basis, more or less. And I think it's got to be one of the latest GT3 RSs. You know, the car way outperforms the old original Spiders that they used to be.
Yeah.
The performance is right out there, and the level of spec and trim and the look of the car now is beautiful.
Out of this world, really, aren't they?
Yeah. And as I said, there's probably a lot of other very fast, very desirable cars, but I'm a Porsche fan.
Yeah, no, I am as well. They're great cars, especially you can get like different packages and Visac packages on a lot of the GT3 RSs, or just take them up just that extra level of just exclusivity and what have you. So
absolutely
great cars.
Yeah,
definitely was something I would have as well.
Good.
So another question I have for Nicky is, what is the most favourite stage you've competed on, whether you be driving in your Celica or co-driving?
Wow.
It's some question, it's probably quite a difficult one to pinpoint on, but
every rally had its own character, surface, characteristic. Some of the best rally roads in the world were in New Zealand, just from the nature of the surfaces and the campers, you know, that lent itself to it. And there were some wonderful stages there altogether. Fonga Coast, that comes to mind. But I really enjoyed Finland. I mean, from the first time I went there, I was totally traumatized by the nature of the roads.
Was it Kankinen you were first with there?
No, I went there first of all with Malcolm Wilson, and that was my first ever international rally.
Wow.
So, you know, I was in awe of the place.
Yeah.
And having done the recce, I was almost terrified, not knowing. You know, there was all these crests and big and jumps, and what you'd think was a jump was not a jump, and what we thought was going to be nothing was a massive jump. So, you know, you were caught out more often than not. But when I went there with Kankinen for the first time, do you want a short or a long answer?
I'll go for the long answer. I want to know everything.
When I went there for Cancun for the first time in 1994, I was a little bit worried. I did it the year before with Armin Schwarz in Mitsubishi, and so there was this big build up to the rally. UR was the star. We were car number one again because we won the championship the year before. So I was thinking, my God, this guy knows the country inside and out, and I thought this is going to be a hell of a ride.
Yeah.
And as it was, we went and did the recce, and we seemed to be flying around the route. Now there was all the Finns stick together, so it was Juha, Tommy Mäkinen, Harry Rovanperä and Tony Gardemeister. We were all together as a team, and anyway we flew around the route more or less, and we managed to do most stages twice. Some of them only did once because he'd done them time and time before. Anyway, at the end of the third day, UR said, "That's it now, you're done." I said, "Well, we've got another 7 days of recce." "No," he said, "no problem." He said, "I'm happy with the notes." He said, "I'm going to go with Tommy, and these drivers then will go and do their own recce together, talk about scenarios." So he said, "You're off to play golf now with Seppo Harjanne in Helsinki." So I thought, my God, I haven't even got the chance of really doing this in depth. So then we turn up at the first stage, and it was just outside Jyväskylä near the airport, and we went down this sort of fairly wide-ish gravel road, turned hairpin left onto a narrow, twisty road. Round this section we came down to a medium right and hairpin left and 90 right. Anyway, he didn't brake on the medium right. We went whaff straight through this hedge and bushes, and we came out the other side, and we finished the stage, and he said, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry," he said. "I should have told you about that," he said. "That is the worst one." But following that stage, we rolled in his backyard.
Lankamar, was it?
Lankamar, that's his farm back's right on the edge.
Yeah, on the back of it,
Yeah, and we rolled there, and somebody was going to punch him out, and it was his brother. He said, "You've not met him, that's my other brother." But once they repaired the car, and once they got us eventually back in four-wheel drive, the car was badly twisted at the back. But we went into a stage called Moihimpa.
Moihimpa, yeah, infamous.
Yeah, really tricky, very, very technical, and we'd have long corners with 3 apexes with different lines over a jump, all in the one corner. And while the car was bent at the rear, we finished the end of the stage, and I said, "How was it?" He said, "Oh, oversteers a little bit one way," he said, "but other than that, it's okay." He said, "How did we do?" And I said, "We were quickest." And, from that point on, we were fastest on all the stages. And I think Moihimpa, just from its sheer technical aspect, but it's also wide, fast and flowing, and there was room to maneuver, but so many jumps and picking the lines, and it was just a wonderful experience. But although I panicked about this whole situation with Juha, because he knew the place so well, it was undramatic.
Yeah, you can trust him,
and he knew the big jumps,
and
the speed would be adjusted perfectly to get the car on the ground and accelerate.
Efficient,
and the tricky over crests into corners, the lines were perfect, and he'd pick up things. We come to this crest, and it was a left into a right after it. He said, "Here, you see the bare tree up on the hill?" I said, "Yes." He said, "We head straight for that." And that's how they map their way around it.
They know where they are, everything like that.
And they've done it so many times. So, Moihimpa stage, Finland, but only if you're with a flying fin.
Only with a flying fin. I've got to ask a question about recce. With recce now, it's limited to a certain speed. There are some stories of recce being a sort of fast-paced sort of trial run of the stage. What was it like back in 1994?
Well, in the early 90s, you could recce with a Group A car. So when we went to places like Greece and what have you, it was a blessing because you had a proper rally car to recce in. But it was the nature of approach, and it was probably Carlos Sainz that changed things in Finland particularly, because I think Carlos was the first non-Scandinavian to win the rally, and only because with the Group A car he was recceing with, they would temporarily close roads.
Sweet.
and run at night at high speed.
Yeah.
Because it was free. You basically had a fortnight, and you could run at any time of the day, or the night, and in any schedule. So you
Get an
chose
idea of what you were going to be.
Yeah.
What you're going to be getting on the
And it was more than acceptable in those days.
Yeah.
And it was the same all over the world. And you know, other recce's could be even more difficult, like Monte Carlo, for instance. You could recce for 3 weeks there, because then you're just trying to pick the conditions, to get the right conditions to do that road in. If there was some snow, you move from that area and find somewhere else and come back and have a look at it, and then try and do everything at the time that you're going to rally on that piece of road. So you've got the sun and everything.
Try and get the conditions as
they would be on the rally.
On the rally. Yeah. No, that's brilliant.
A lot of method in the madness, you see.
Yeah, no, yeah. So Mahimba was an iconic stage, isn't it? It's a very well-known stage. So especially with the flying fin, it's going to be full chat.
It is very special.
So myself, I'm trying to get into stage rallying in the near future, and there's quite a, in terms of cost, there's a big barrier to entry. So what would you say is the best way to get yourself into motorsport?
I think, you know, when you compete in rallies, you can compete at all different levels. I think the most important thing is to compete in the first place, and experience of pace notes, listening to pace notes, writing your own pace notes, the experience of forest roads, finding the clean lines, how important the clean lines are. That you can do in something that's just a little Formula 1000 1 litre car all the way up. And I think where the budget comes in, you know, ultimately to be at the higher level is in the car and the tyres and everything else. But I think you've got to start with something small, something that's controllable, and build up to that speed. Absolutely. I mean, because, you know, learning about keeping the power on in a situation and keeping on the clean line, braking on the clean line, not taking a releasing line, you know, all of this becomes so vital and critical when the real action starts to happen. And you've found some sponsors and you've got yourself an R5 car to go competing at a top level. So I think do as much as you can.
Try not to run before you can walk.
Exactly, most definitely. And you know, unlike racing where the grip is, your racing lines become important, but you've got a tarmac surface and it's more or less clean across it. I mean, yes, you have slippery edges where bits of rubber and stuff congregate, but it's not like a gravel rally.
No.
There is a massive deep gravel off the line, and you've got to just learn all these tricks of the trade.
Cuts and everything like that.
So just get out there, do as much as you can in a car that's affordable. And then, you know, learn your craft, and then get out there and start spending money on bigger, better, faster cars.
That's some really good advice, thank you, Nicky.
Pleasure.
So yeah, anyone to get into stage rallying, Nicky, you said it himself, that's how to best get into it. So, Nicky, you went through from starting out in the 80s doing road rallying, all the way through till the mid-noughties with Colin. What would you say are the biggest changes across the sport that you found?
Well, the thing is, different levels of sport is a big step apart, really. And I think that road rallying, other than having a strict 30-mile-an-hour average, is very much like it was back in the day. The cars have become a little bit more technical. That I can't honestly say has changed dramatically. But I think when you look at stage rallying particularly, and the World Rally Championship, that's where I've seen a lot of changes over the years, really. You know, when you look at the cars that we've got and the technical development of cars. You know, back in the day, this was a leading car, as was an Escort Cosworth and Lancia Deltas that are around it. But you compare this now to an R5 car, which is a second level rally car, and that's way faster. And I think tyre development, suspension, transmission, aerodynamics, because we had to stick with a standard body shape in this era to all this aerodynamics.
Silhouette's the same as the road car. Can't change a lot now.
And the aerodynamics now of these R1 cars, Rally 1 cars, is just incredible. I mean, when you see the speed they go around corners, I mean, you wipe out the whole of the World Rally Championship in our day if we tried to carry that sort of speed. It would be impossible. And that's where the sport has changed. But that's motoring. it's
technical development,
technical
all the time,
development,
moving
road.
on. Yeah.
You look at road cars, an Escort RS 2000 against a 1400 3-cylinder or even a 1 litre Fiesta.
Yeah,
I mean, that way outperforms that.
Exactly. It's crazy how much technology changes, and just even in the same things. Like you look at this. This is a mid-90s car, and you can go on to like the now cars from 2023, and the changes in the way they handle, and you can see it. So I've been to Spain to watch the Rally 1 cars, and in Portugal, especially on the tarmac, I think it's most apparent where you can see it, just how flat they are, and you can see everything compressing, how low the cars are, and they just don't deviate. But you'll see like these cars, because the way they're set up, there's no aero, so the cars are moving around all the time. You can see them understeering, the weight changing and going to oversteer. So it's quite difficult to understand how that changes so much, but it's just aero, tyre technology and suspension technology taking over.
Well, and I think from a driver's perspective, back in our day, the events were twice as long. There was a lot more complexity in the preparation for a stage and choosing the ultimate tyre for a Monte Carlo stage, making that right choice. But you're also, because of the length of a rally, it became almost endurance as much as it did anything else. And nowadays, where the events are so much shorter, half the distance or even less than that, I remember competing in a Rally Portugal and it was 10 hours of stage times. Now you barely get an hour and 50 minutes or something. So, just that in itself.
The way the driver attacks everything, how the team works, you were going, now it's more of just a flat out assault from the start. And then you've got to
every second counts.
Yeah.
Every second. And that's why now they're analysing their onboard footage and WRC Plus, great for us spectators, but actually it's become a bit of a pain for the rally organisers and the competitors, because now drivers that were fighting on the last day are studying the video as the co-driver takes them to the stage, seeing the cars in front on the stage they're going to compete on.
And they can see the lines they're taking.
And so looking at the road surface, that's okay, I can cut in there, full speed. It's all changed.
It's all changed a lot.
And that's where I see the biggest changes.
Yeah. So, Nicky, I've got a question for you, a bit of trivia. Do you know what happened on the 13th of August in 1983? I'll give you a little hint, it's a road rally.
Yeah, well, gone back to 83, we would the driver have been Steve Davis?
It was John Labella.
All right. It was his RS 2000. Oh, I did my first stage rally. I did it. Did I do a forest rally with John? Did we do the Peter Russack's manual rally down in Neath?
It's actually the Rally Goglev.
Up in North Wales.
Up in North Wales, and there's a fun bit of trivia here. My dad actually competed in that event.
Oh God, how would I ever have got that? My God.
I thought it was a cool bit of trivia.
That's your trivia, not mine. My God. So John Labella. I think I did my first forest rally with John Labella, I think, in his RS 2000.
To go that far back and know exactly. But yeah, you finished 5th on that event on the Rally Goglev back in 1983. Because I was looking through loads of results for my dad and what have you. And I was looking through navigators and drives, and your name popped up, so I was like, oh, Dad's doing the same rally, Nicky Grist.
Oh, these roads up there in North Wales and Llŷn Peninsula, so difficult. The maps, you may as well use them as toilet paper, honestly.
Difficult to get ahead of.
The corners appearing everywhere, they're just not on the map.
Not on the maps, But that's
oh, there you are.
A cool little question. So,
did I ever meet your dad, though?
Well, I'd probably not, because he probably retired before he actually got the chance to meet you. So he didn't have the best finishing results, but he was there. He was on the entry list and was competing. So
So do you want me to answer this question?
The funny one.
I'm going to have to just pick on something. There's probably something even funnier, which I can't even remember. I remember once, and this gives you an idea of Colin McCrae and his character, really. I think he was very comfortable around people that he knew, and he was a relaxed character. People that didn't know him so well, and journalists, he'd be a bit protective. But we used to use cycling a lot as our form of exercise, and we used to go out and just cycle. And when we went to Rally Australia, we had bikes in the long haul kit, and we had bikes that they take in Europe for us. And so Perth, Australia, it's a lovely city, and the weather was always very kind to us, and we had some friends out there. So Colin and I went from Perth City, and we cycled out to the coast and went up the coastline to a cafe where we'd stop and have a coffee and then come back. Shall I start again? And we used to stop at a cafe, just have a coffee and then turn around and come back. So we had a friend that owned this, Shane his name was, and I forget the name of his restaurant, and it was on a jetty, and they had boats on the Swan River, and he had this jetty and he had a restaurant actually at the end of the jetty. So we said, oh, let's go and see Shane. So we went in there and we had some lunch, and then we had, you know, some fish and something else, and then we'd have a glass of wine, and then Shane says, oh boys, I've got this other bottle of wine you ought to have. And so then we tried a bit more wine, and then we tried a bit more, and then all of a sudden then we're getting a little bit tipsy at this point. So there's Colin and I, you know, lycra and stuff. And Shane said, come on, let's come here. He said, some of my friends are just down the road here. He said, come and meet them. So here we are, we go to this place now. And now we're on beers now, drinking with Shane's mates. And anyway, it got to the point where we were completely drunk and doing stupid things like all this salt and pepper pots down his lycra shorts. And anyway, it got to the point where it was something like 8:30 at night, and we'd forgot the team briefing. Oh. We'd missed it completely. Just completely drunk. And anyway, I had to, I'm very sorry, John. I'm very, very sorry, John. But that's the way it rolled.
Yeah.
As it was, you know, in those days, this sort of thing was okay. And it was fine because we were there for the rally and we performed to our utmost capability. It didn't affect anything. But that's just one little snapshot of what was really completely innocent, and just have a nice bit of lunch on the jetty with a glass of wine. Turned into something crazy.
Missing team briefing, everything like that.
Well, you know, he was a social time bomb.
Yeah.
You didn't know when it would happen, but you knew if something was going to happen, it would be fun. And there was a lot of fun with Colin as well.
It's nice stuff to look back on and have a laugh at and stuff like that.
I mean, a lot of people see the action in the car and all the results that we had, but there was other elements to it, fun elements.
Learn the actual person who they are.
Yes, exactly.
It's nice, a bit of insight into what I used to get up to in Perth, so thank you very much. Cheers.
This is Sven's list of questions on his phone. And we're actually going to have a Nick's pick now.
Nick's pick, I like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things on here that we have already spoken about. What's my favourite rally car?
The Celica ST185, of course.
Listen, it's as I said, it's because I won my first World Championship event and spent 4 months in Kenya in one, and won my first Rally GB in one.
Yeah,
that's why I had that.
Special, yeah.
But
that's good enough reason, I think.
Scariest moment I've ever had. There you go. I'm going to ask you. I'll give you an answer for that. I think there's been a few moments along the way, but I think the most terrifying was in 1999. They changed the route a little bit, and it was in Rally Australia, and I think it was called, what was the name of the stage down? Sign of Age, I've forgotten it. But it was south of the route from Perth. And it was very tricky surface, always in a lot of these stages. Round ball bearings, it's really odd. And you had to cut the tyre to hold the stones. That's the only way to get grip, or the best way to get grip. And we just took this new route to the right, where originally we went straight on 90 left, and we did a long 90 right, which was but flat, basically. It was a very open corner. And then we went over this jump that they'd, through grading, had made it into a jump. And then we took a flat out straight to a hairpin left, and then we came back on ourselves again. And I remember taking the recce, we didn't think anything more of it. But then we appeared there on the rally, and we took this thing in 6th gear, pretty much flat out. The car took off, and the 99 car, the geometry wasn't 100% at that point, and we kind of took off at this angle, and we're landing now on the front left wheel, slightly broadside. So when it landed, the geometry ripped the steering out of Colin's hand, and the car has now changed direction. So we need to be going here, but now the car is at this angle, and I'm heading straight for you with the camera. But that was a massive tree. So I'm just thinking, shit, I'm going to die. And even Colin said to me, he said, I thought it was your time. And people say that when you're in this position, your life flashes in front of you. And I honestly thought I was going to die. And I started to think about my wife, my friends, my family, all of these things just flashing in a split second. And in the last few feet, I just shut my eyes and braced myself for the inevitable. Next minute, it was an enormous impact, and the car was spinning around. And then I opened up my eyes and I thought, shit, I'm alive. And, you know, there was a lot of carnage, a lot of dust. So anyway, I get out of the car and I had to hobble because I'd broken my toe.
I think there's actually footage just after you get out of the car, and you can see yourself hobbling and then sitting down on a bank.
And honestly, in the last few feet, the direction changed. So instead of coming to my door, it impacted by the wheel, just on the back of the wheel. Just cracked the block, cracked the gearbox, the dash had come off, all the bumper, the wings had ripped off, the wheels and suspension was everywhere. And I walked away from it. And you know, that was
it's one of those moments where you just sort of can't believe you've actually made that out.
And I think with Colin, you know, they say that rally drivers pick which side they're going to go off on.
That's usually the navigator side, but no, didn't have that choice.
But not with Colin. You know, his commitment was total, and if you're going to go off, that's the side you go off on. And that's the only time I ever really got hurt with something broken. Some cuts, that's all. But that was the only time I got injured, and it was a broken toe. And you know, in the seasons that followed that, Colin got trapped in the car twice almost, and you know, hurt himself. So I was very lucky through my career. And you know, I think anybody that's had a 13-year career at the top end of the sport that comes out without any injury is a great result.
Yeah, you've done very well. So, thank
you
very much, Nicky.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the interview,
Pleasure.
taking your time out of your day. It's been a very insightful interview, I think. So,
Good.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.